recognizable. Get fast.
Got it.
Hello.
This lane, I think.
I would like to challenge Matt Bozak.
Scotty Bull.
Jason Belmasi.
Well, good Saturday morning, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Bowling with the Fef, a platform for you to share your unique story in the sport of bowling, and want to kind of get things moving pretty quickly today. We've got limited time, so we'll kind of get right off the bat with how this show looks the way it does, and that is thanks to the generosity of Chip Magnet Salsa, a company that is based in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. Produces salsa, relish, and a whole lot more in more than 38 states and Canada. If you want to get your fix, go to chipmagnet.com. Enter in this promo code BWTF2023. You get 20% off your purchase of $30 or more. Limit one order per email address. Chip Magnet. Raise your snack standards. And as always, thank you so much, Chip Magnet, for what they do for bowling and for Bowling with the Fef. This has been a somber couple days in the sport of bowling. The bowling world recently lost the man known as a visionary, an icon, and a force in the bowling industry. Bill Chrisman, a co-founder and CEO of Storm Bowling, died Thursday at age 74. The company announced it just yesterday. Chrisman started the company with his wife Barbara, known as High Score Products, back in 1985. They started producing exclusively ball cleaner, and 6 years later, they started making bowling balls, and of course has grown by leaps and bounds since then. Storm Bowling is now among the biggest successes in the sport of bowling, creating and releasing performance bowling balls and equipment, and backing some of the biggest names on the lanes. Now, overnight, Chrisman's wife Barbara, also a co-founder of the company, passed along some of her thoughts on Facebook. She said, "I'm devastated by the passing of the love of my life, 52 years being my soulmate." She went on to say, "There will be no autopsy. Bill had atrial fibrillation and his heart either went into a deadly arrhythmia, but most likely he formed a blood clot in his legs that broke loose and went to his heart or brain. It was quick and he did not suffer." And she goes on to thank so many who have wished her condolences. She says, "We will announce when we will have a small local memorial service and then later a large celebration of life." Again, Barbara Chrisman posting those words on Facebook overnight about her husband and co-founder of Storm, Bill Chrisman. We are fortunate on the show today to have a leader from that organization, Vice President of Marketing Gary Hulsenberg, here to talk about Bill and, of course, his bowling story. Gary, let's kind of get started with it by discussing how you found out about Bill and what the reaction was immediately.
About Bill's passing?
Yes, sir.
It was a couple days ago, and we were all at work, and I got the phone call because I had Bill and I have our one-on-ones every Thursday at 1:00, and those last for an hour or so. And it's our time to get together every week and discuss what we have going on in shaking and marketing. And I get to sit in the office of this great mind and listen to him. I don't know, just all his experience and everything. So at Storm, we call them one-on-ones. All the vice presidents have them with Mr. Chrisman, and Bill wasn't around. And if he's not around, Bill is the guy that he will call you. He doesn't text. He'll call you and say, "Hey, I'm running late. We need let's move it back," or "I got caught up. Let's do it tomorrow." And so when he wasn't there for the one-on-one, it was like, man, I haven't seen him all day, and he's not here for the one-on-one, and he didn't call. So I called him, his cell phone, and left him a message hoping that he was okay and if he needed anything. But obviously at that point he had passed, and we just didn't know it until couple hours later. So then it's been a pretty somber time. And then one of my teammates, Blair, and I worked on the press release. And of course, that's emotional and hard to take care of that and get it communicated to our bowling community, because I'll tell you, the loss for bowling is enormous, because there is no one like Bill Chrisman, and there's never been, in my opinion, anyone as generous as Bill and Barbara Chrisman. What they do inside the sport, and even if you know that they're generous and that they've done so much, you don't know all the stuff you don't know that they've helped in ways that you just can't imagine. And then, of course, outside the sport, they had their own foundation. They continued to give back in local community activities, and they always just put helping people above profits, and they always wanted to do something good for bowling, to push it forward into a different light or a new light. And so it's been a brutal couple days, and I thank you for the time to share about the great Bill Chrisman, and thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah, of course. You mentioned earlier, when you talk about Bill, he's a guy that doesn't necessarily text or anything like that. There are a lot of us out there in the greater bowling world that know the name, but we don't know the man. What was he like, toward you and the people in that building?
He's the most interesting man that I've met, and I say that because you cannot meet a more generous, kind man that when you meet him, he has somewhat of this intimidating exterior. And I asked him about it. I said, Bill, you hardly ever smile, but you love people so much, but you never really emote it or show it in a certain way. And he said when he was a kid, I don't know if he got bullied or he was, he wasn't the biggest kid, so he practiced looking tough in the mirror at home, right? And so he kind of made that persona, but it was so far removed from who he was as a person, because he would do anything for anyone, anytime, and their needs always came before his needs, which is amazing quality. And so, yeah.
And amazing to have someone like that in bowling, period. Along with all that praise that I talked about from people in the Storm family, you've also got praise from people representing other companies. Chuck Gardner, for example, AJ Johnson, Johnny Petraglia Jr., Jerry Mars, who posted and included, as Brian Pinnell posted today, we are all Team Storm. What does that support from outside the walls of the Storm building mean to you guys?
Well, I think it says a lot actually about our industry. We are, people could think, and they may think, that the brands have some sort of competitive space between them. And I don't think it's really that way. When behind the scenes, what I believe everyone wants is, we believe that all bowling is good bowling, no matter what level someone does it at, plays the game at. I believe, because I've had friends that work for other brands that have thanked me, and I don't know, they shouldn't be thanking me, it's thanking Bill and Barbara, right? But they would thank for the things we do and the financial support that we lend and have always lent to this industry. Because at the bottom of the day, if you really think about it, you have this privately held company, the Chrismans, started, created, built Storm up, and to this day are the sole owners of Storm. There is no board of directors to answer to. If Bill wants to do something interesting and doesn't make sense in the normal realm of business, which he did often, he would just say, I'm going to do this. And I will tell you that we're launching a new Paint the Lanes Pink product. It's coming this next week. It's on our website. You can check it out. And every year we go in and we ask Bill, hey, Bill, like you had this cost in creating this product. Do you want to just donate the profits or donate the like a portion of things? And every year he's answered the same way. No, just donate it all. So when you think about it, we this year we're doing this really cool Paint the Lanes Pink bag. And this bag we buy from a vendor. Like we have to buy it, then we have to ship it to Storm because we don't manufacture bags in our facility.
Mhm.
So we're taking our money, we're buying some product, and we're donating all of that money, all part of it is going to the cause. So who does that? Like who can do it? Bill and Barbara Christman do it all the time, but other companies can't quite do it because they have to answer to a bottom line or a shareholder note that, which is not a knock on anyone. We're just the lucky ones that have these amazing co-founders and owners, Bill and Barbara, right? So they just do stuff that behind the scenes people may not really even understand, that it's for the betterment of all of us. And so it doesn't surprise me when I get a text message from Chuck Gardner, who's one of my friends, and he's telling me what a great loss it is, and Parker Bone. I mean, these guys are Brunswick through and through. They've been Brunswick their whole time, right? Like,
Yeah.
And they're texting because they know what a loss it is for all of us that care about bowling.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Of course, we all, hope that, again, without knowing that spirit lives on in Bill's memory. There are 9 of you, Bill included, yourself included, on what's pointed out on the website as leadership. How does that leadership structure look moving forward?
Well, I don't think anything changes from the core way we approach things. We have always had the same philosophies, so I don't see that part of Storm changing at all. It is funny, we said Bill didn't text, but he would be on text, and he would text occasionally, like reply to our group. But
Okay.
you have to remember that our core group of leadership, we're all responsible for our certain areas within the organization, within the company, right?
Okay.
And we're all doing the level best that we can in our areas, right? And it's fun when we just have a group text back and forth about what we're doing next and what's going on, and I just don't see that changing because yesterday afternoon we were all texting in our leadership text group, whatever you want to call it, where it wasn't a formal email and it's not always a formal call or some big call to meet, like some big meeting. I think that Storm continues on, and we're going to continue to do things that are great for our sport, whether they make financial sense or not. We just inherently kind of do that. And I think a lot of people just don't believe some of the stuff that we do, but I don't see it changing. Recently, we had an addition to that leadership team with Tyler Jensen, who has been a Storm kid since he's 14 years old. Like literally for his 14th birthday, his parents asked him what he wanted, and his request was a trip to go to Storm headquarters. This is a kid from, at that time, I think Colorado, wanted to go to Utah to go to a bowling ball manufacturer for his 14th birthday. And now he is, just a 3 months, I think, ago, named the executive vice president. So he's the person that I would report directly to in absence of Bill. Before, we would report directly to Bill. Now we'll just report to Tyler, who carries, if he's 40 almost, so like 14-40, he knows what Storm's all about, right? So I'm excited for the future. I think our leadership team that's been there, none of us are new. We're not new to the sport. We're not new to bowling. We're not new to Bill and Barb's wishes. And we certainly, no matter what department we oversee, I will tell you that the core always comes back to the bowling community. And when we make decisions like product releases, the team, Steve Klumpkin, who's our vice president, Hall of Famer, he's in our product development VP. He's not putting out a ball to just put out a ball that's the same as the ball before just to spike sales. There's got to be something unique and different about every product that we launch, and it has to fit into the whole line, right? So not every ball is meant to hook the most. We need a very vast line from top to bottom, and I think we do that. We all bowl, so we all want that too. Like, we know we're just a consumer that happens to work at Storm, right? We're just a bowler, just like all of our bowlers, and we want our products to make life easy and help people enjoy the game more and help people knock down a few more pins. And I think when you're running a business like that is different than, we need to make this little widget so that we increase our sales so that we have this money. We just don't really do it that way. We're more bowling geeks than our customers are. We want to make a widget that's cooler than the widget we did before. It's cooler than the product we just launched. So I don't see anything really changing other than this massive void that we'll never fill, because no one's going to be Bill Chrisman. So we're just never going to fill that. But his vision and what he wanted and what Barbara wanted and wants will 100% drive our company forward.
Yeah. Have those, and I know it's early, have those just been casual conversations, or has any timeline been established for when that gets solidified?
Well, we knew that we knew nothing's going to change if Bill's absent or wasn't around or whatever. So I just don't feel like there's what's to talk about. We've always done the same thing, and Monday when we go to work, we're going to be doing the same thing. And it's really, what is it for us? Our goal is to manufacture the absolute best products that we can do in the world for our customers or fans to have better success with and enjoy bowling more. And I got to tell you, the guiding principle that has guided us for decades is our mission statement isn't to be profitable and to make more money, and we don't have goals around it. It's to grow the sport. So what manufacturer has that as their driving force every day? Like, hey guys, what are we going to do to grow the sport? Oh, maybe we should do this Storm Youth Championships thing. And then what are we going to do? Now we've done these Storm Youth since 2017, and all the money goes to the kids, and we raise money for charity. And then from that, me and a couple of our teammates that work those events a lot, we're like, man, some kids don't have the same access to cool things that other kids do. They're kind of like, show up to these big tournaments and they don't really have, they might come from a smaller town that doesn't really have this, they just don't have the access to the material. And so through that was born the Evolution program, which our company launched. And the Evolution program is free for every youth athlete, regardless of their age, and the youth athlete's mom and dad. And if they're a hammer kid or a motive kid, it doesn't matter. They can be in our program. And our pros, like I saw a picture you had up there, Chris Vi hanging out with us in Indianapolis.
Oh yeah.
And educating and doing a Q&A for the kids. Like, this guy won the US Open. This guy is like Mr. America guy. Like, he's on Team USA, winning gold medals for our country, wins the US Open. Totally educated guy with fantastic player. and he volunteers his weekend, and that was a longer event, so it was like 4 or 5 days total that he volunteered. We didn't pay him to go there. We took care of his hotel room and bought him dinner. He was there because he wants to be there to give back to this next generation. And this is what our pro staff just does. Like Belmo's come and Shannon O'Keefe has come and all of them, everyone's come. Hank and Lindsay Boomershine have been to these, and they're like, Hank's a gold coach, one of the few gold coaches in the world, right? And he wants to go and spend his time and teach kids about the higher, points of the game and stuff. So I just feel like our team is wound up of a lot of people that really care about the game of bowling, the sport of bowling, and we want it to be better than it's ever been, not worse than it's ever been. So,
yeah. We've got some folks chiming in. Nico says, hello, Fef there, and Gary and Vincent Chen. Same deal. Hello, Gary. Flush in the Pocket with Derek Michaud. Hey, guys, how's it going? Vincent says, Storm sounds like a cool company. Too bad I know nothing about bowling products, but love the sport. And Trey Hendricksmeyer, who we're going to see on TV tomorrow in the LBC National Championships clash, says SYC is awesome. Gary, how did you...
I want to say thank you for everyone for their comments too, yeah. And then I just want to give a shout out to Trey. This is one really talented kid that happens to also. This is another thing I'm so impressed by folks like Trey and his peers. These kids are brilliant. Like they're wicked smart. They're super kind. Trey happens to be one of the best in the country. I mean, he's just phenomenal. So I hope he wins. I hope he wins tomorrow. No offense to the other people, but I'm rooting for my guy Trey to get it done. So bowling's in a great spot with these youth because they're so talented and they are committed. They're so committed, and the college opportunities are so immense that it's only going to build up from here.
Yeah. For sure. Trey is in this community. He's from Eau Claire, which I'm adjacent to. He came to league this past week, and I said, don't tell me. I want to watch it like I'm seeing it for the first time. So we'll be excited to see what happens tomorrow night, FS1, 6 o'clock Wisconsin time. Gary, give us at least the Cliff's Notes version. How you get into the sport, your rise to Storm leadership. There's a lot in between there, isn't there?
Yeah, I've been in bowling. I mean, I started bowling when I was 8, and I bowled quite a bit. I had a dream back then. The Pro Tour was alive and well. And, of course, now I believe it's alive and well with Tom Clark, and they're doing amazing things. But when I was a kid, it was, the sport that was on Saturday afternoons. It was always on TV. You didn't have the internet, so you didn't. Sometimes you'd get like a newspaper or an announcement, like you would know who's going to be on TV. But a lot of times you just had to tune in and see who the top 5 were, right? For the round robin TV finals. And I got super addicted. And then I played every sport like all kids. A lot of kids play a lot of different sports. Bowling was so intriguing to me because I could go and practice anytime I could get lane availability. I could never master it. And I could, with my hand, back then it was more about, I think a little bit more about technique than equipment, because the equipment was kind of like you had a ball, maybe you had 2, and you had to then manipulate it to make it do what like you wanted it to do. Where now the equipment, it's a whole different skill set. It's not one's better than the other. Yeah. But I'm telling, if there's any kids like Trey out there, like that are watching, when I grew up bowling and I got fairly good at it, I could feel immediately when I let the ball leave, when it left my hand, I knew what I was going to leave almost. It was very rare that I would be surprised, right? So I could feel like, oh, that's a 4-pin. Oh, that's a flat 10. Oh, here's something that we don't leave anymore, the bucket. We would leave the 2, 4, 5, 8 often back in the day because the ball didn't have as much motion and the rev rates weren't as high. The game was different. So the feel was unique, and then how you adjusted, because you had that one ball and you kind of had to make it. How do I get the flat 10 out of the rack, and so you had to change your ball roll, and I think that was really intriguing to me. And because you'd have your A game, then you'd have a B game and a C game, like the kids have now too. But back then it wasn't like I'm going to go grab this other ball and it's going to skid further and flip harder, or pick up sooner and roll heavier. That just wasn't an option. And I don't think one's better than the other. Like, I love the modern game. I love two-handed players. Like, I'm all in. If I was a kid, I'd be a two-hander 100%. I just would.
Yeah.
And I love their power, and I love how smart they are. I just love that. That was another big difference, right? We didn't know. There were no oil patterns back then. We just showed up with our ball, we'd throw it, and then we would go, man, I need to make an adjustment, right? So it was kind of that was really fun to me. And then when you started to learn and when you bowl tournaments, like, if I likened it to now, and if I was bowling a tournament with, let's just keep on the Trey bandwagon here, right?
Yeah.
Like, if I was bowling a youth tournament and Trey was bowling, I would be, and I'm a couple pairs down from where he's bowling, and I'm not having much success. I would be going to see what he's doing, because he's probably pummeling me because he's just better. And I would go and try to figure out how ways to do that. Well, that was how all those greats, when the Walter Rays and the Parker Bones and those, Norm Duke, they would always be aware of the surroundings and the center characteristics at a very high level. And so I just thought that was really intriguing. And then I bowled, and I was not very good. Like, I made a few resident pro teams for the West Coast, and I had that little success, and I won at the regional level. But at the tour level, when I would bowl a tour event, I told Tommy Jones one time, I'm like, if I bowl my absolute best and like everything goes my way, I get a check, like I cash. And when you bowl horrible, you're in the top 24 going for TV shows. Like, I need to get a job, right? Like, it's not working out. So I was not very good at that level of bowling, but I still loved it. And so, of course, working in the industry is fantastic. And I've had some cool gigs in the bowling industry. And I always tell kids nowadays, I'm like, I'm old, and if you like marketing, you should talk to me, because Storm's the best company to work for, in my opinion. I think I have the coolest job in the bowling industry, because I get to be the guy in charge of the marketing department, right? So, and I'm not going to be around for a long time. So you guys and girls out there that like marketing, you should hit me up at the next U tournament you see me, and ask me, hey, I want to take your job over one day, and I'll help you get there.
Yeah, and I'll vouch for that, because when I went up to him, I called him Hank Boomershine, and yet he's still on the show. So Gary's good people. I reached out to Don Moser, who said he's got some history with you. He recalls taking a job at Homestead Lanes as the desk manager. He said he met you and a girl named Denise Garcia. He said you'd all hang out, but you guys were more like his kids, because he was a little older. He said you would call him Papa, and that you were all great friends, and you two were always behind him when he was on tour. Was that kind of a big part of what got you inspired to do the tour yourself?
Not Don, but Don was just one of those people that was just a really nice guy. That he was a little older than some of us. You know who else was in that mix, of course, was Tony Reyes, rest in peace.
Yeah.
He who passed away actually on the same day that Mr. Chrisman passed away, but a few years ago. Yeah. But Tony Reyes, he was in our youth program with me, and I was a little older than Tony, and Don was a little older, and we had a great coach, Robert Vanderpool was his name, and a youth leader. And we would go to tournaments, and Don would help. And then, when you became Don was really good at a point. Like, he made TV shows and stuff like that. Like, he was a good player. and great regional player. Like, he was fantastic. And just, yeah, he still bowls, actually. I sent him balls not that long ago, and we stay in touch, and I'll see him from time to time. Like, it's just one of the super cool things about bowling is that the kids like Trey, 20, 30 years from now, he's going to have friends that he has right now. He's going to have that same circle. It'll just be a bigger circle, and he'll know more people. But the buddies he's buddies with now, 30 years from now, he's going to be buddies with them. Bowling just has a way of keeping our industry connected, right? We're just connected.
Yeah.
And it's hard to meet someone within our sport, and then your paths will cross later, and you'll go, hey, I remember chatting with that person, and it's just one of the great things about our sport.
Yeah. And you lose touch with some people, but if you run into them years down the line, easy to get right back where you started, which is awesome too. Another guy I reached out to was Matt McNeil, and asked him about what you do and working with you through Storm. He says he sees you about once a year, but he told me that you bring a lot of forward thinking and innovative marketing techniques to the company, and he called you a really big picture thinker. He said that you've definitely been very instrumental in helping the company grow since going there. And you mentioned that this VP of marketing gig is kind of your dream job. I mean, how do these ideas come pouring out of you?
I mean, even though I'm older, I have always been fascinated with minds like Bill Chrisman, right? And to be able to sit in a room every week at least, because he came to Storm every day. Like, he didn't need to come to Storm, right? Like, he's got a team in place. He just loved bowling and loved Storm. I mean, Bill is Storm. Storm is Bill Chrisman, right? And it would be like if you're a tech person and you have a job at Apple and you get to go sit in Steve Jobs' office, the late great Steve Jobs. Or maybe you're into, track, and you get a job at Nike and you get to go sit with Phil Knight every week. Like, that was what my Bill Chrisman, that's how I liken it, right? Like, I love bowling. I want to be in bowling. I want to be in this bowling space. This is the guy that's the most visionary guy and innovative guy that I've ever met in the sport. So, like, and for reasons that didn't have to do with success and money and a lot of things that drive people. Those things came to Bill after having success because he was doing the right things. And so I just feel like that's an important thing. So for me, I don't know why I think of the things I think about, but I'm not afraid to pay attention to the surroundings and the opportunities that present themselves. Yeah. Right? They're all out there. The opportunities in this world are endless. We live in the greatest country in the world, and we're afforded freedom and the freedom to think on our own. And I think that's that first word, think, is critical to our marketing strategies at Storm. Every one of us, for my team in the marketing department, I'm not their boss. I guess on paper it looks that way, but I say we're all in this together. My ideas aren't always the right good ideas, and they just don't get stamped to move through. We work as a team. It doesn't matter if you just joined the team or if you've been there 20 years. Everyone should be heard. Everyone's opinions and ideas and thoughts matter. And I think our organization runs that way. I mean, I just think that's what Bill and Barbara started, and it's kind of how we operate now. So we're afforded to have these really crazy ideas and then safely bring them up within our company structure and not feel bad or be belittled for having an out of the box idea.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's very important.
So I think that's kind of important. It's just innovation. And I think that's how we kind of hopefully stay ahead of the game.
Yeah. I feel like nowadays a big part of the identity of not only you, but also the company comes online multiple times a week in a show called The Morning Bolt. How did that come together? And what's it like to work with Blair on this show where it seems like you two are the best of friends always?
Yeah. So the Morning Bolt, I was flying home. I was actually in Reno, Nevada when the news broke of the pandemic.
Yeah.
And I was having meetings with, back then was the Tri Properties, which we've done a lot of collaborations with over the years. Again, kind of like out of the box thinking stuff that why would a bowling ball manufacturer be doing a collaboration with this hotel chain in Reno, Nevada, right? And they would always say, you're the only person that ever calls us with these ideas. And then we got some of these ideas to go and actually become live. And when I was there with my contact, we were watching the news. And then I was there for another day or so. And I was there with one of my teammates, Matt Martin. We were both there together. And we flew home. I think Matt flew home, and then I was there one more day, and then I flew home. And on the plane, I wrote this letter or whatever, which I do often. I kind of feel like that's a good way to get things out of your mind, is just to write it down on paper. And it was really like I felt, and I don't know why I felt it. It just seemed to me like the world's never really going to be the same, and bowling's never really be the same, where we're going to go through this really long period. And at the time they were saying this could be just a week or 2 weeks, and then it'll be better. And I was like, I don't really think it's going to work like that. And so I went on after that trip, and it was still like so new that we didn't know what we didn't know. But Blair and I had annually, we go to a conference that has to do with digital media marketing. It's really a way to get inspired and to meet other people that work from other industries and hear best practices. Mm-hmm. And so Blair and I were at this conference in San Diego like 2 days later. So I wrote this thing on the plane. 2 days later, we're at this conference. We meet and talk to these guys that own like you use, I think it's StreamYard.
StreamYard,
yep. StreamYard, which is a fantastic service. Blair and I are Mac people. And in the Mac world, we use a thing called Ecamm Live. And we met the owners of Ecamm Live at this booth. They had this booth there. And we got back to, we had rented this condo in downtown San Diego. And so Blair had her suite on one side and I had my suite on the other. And there was this common area. And so the common area, we would, get ready, and then we'd meet in the common area. And we started like looking at each other, talking about this Ecamm Live and talking about what happens if no one can go into bowling centers and what happens. And Storm's just always been about this community, like based. That's what everything we do, it's about bowling and the bowling community. And so I'm like, man, I think we need to get a software like this, figure out how to use it, because we don't know what the heck we're doing. We don't know how to do a podcast. We don't have any formal education. We just don't have anything about running a podcast. But I felt very strongly that we needed to make some investments and launch this, and that's how we launched the Morning Bolt. And then it's just kind of grown, and it's always Blair and I, unless I'm traveling or she's traveling or we bring a guest host in or something. But it's every Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 9:00. A week or two ago, we had like Tom Clark in. Mm-hmm. Friday, yesterday, we had BJ Moore scheduled to be on the show. Of course, that couldn't happen with the passing of Bill, so he canceled yesterday. But it's every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. It's on Facebook. We use the Storm Facebook to live that. And the reason we do that is because we just feel like it's the most interactive platform where people can just type in their comment real quick. We reply, and I don't know. It's been fun. Again, we're not exactly ESPN, and we're not exactly Bowling with the Theft, but we're just this little company that it's not what we do at Storm. It's just a way that we've started to try to get connected. And so we just didn't want bowlers, if they couldn't go in to a bowling center because of the pandemic and shutting down centers and saying we couldn't gather socially, we felt like we could maybe gather virtually. Yeah. And so that's why we did it. And I'm glad we did it. And I love doing it. And Blair and I are best of friends. And in fact, tomorrow we're having a creative summit just in a town not far from us called Park City, Utah, famous skiing town. And we have some marketing members meeting us in Park City for a day to plan out the next 6 months of what our little world looks like at Storm. So,
yeah. Well, first of all, if you're passionate about bowling, you are Bowling with the Theft, because I'm creating community here too. But I'll mention that the Morning Bolt is a very good watch. I encourage everybody to seek out Storm Bowling on Facebook and check it out. We're kind of running low on time, and I want to get this in before we get you out of here. It's something I call off the sheet. And that's where I ask you to challenge somebody else in bowling. It doesn't have to be the greatest bowler in the world, but somebody who's passionate about the sport and has a unique story to tell to appear on a future episode of Bowling with the Theft. So, Gary Hulsenberg, who would you like to challenge to appear on one of our future episodes?
I have this weird connection. So I share my life with someone that is, and I never remember this because we're husband and wife, and we have our family and our dog and like my coffee cup, right? I've got my little puppies on my coffee cup. But I think, and what I am told by other people, that this is maybe the best player that's ever played on the ladies' side. But my wife is Leanne Barrette, Hulsenberg, obviously, since we've been married. And I would challenge Leanne, because I honestly, this person at this point in life, right? The bowling's not what she does, but she runs all the SYC. She runs the evolution program. She runs the evolution staff. Her and Blair work on all this youth initiatives. There's no one. Her best friend out in California and her started a youth tournament organization, Mr. Mike Hillman from the famous Cloverleaf Family Bowl. They just started doing youth tournaments because they just wanted to have kids have a great time. And I don't know, there's no one that probably loves bowling as much as she does. And I think she would be an entertaining guest, because you could ask her about all of her tremendous success on the lanes, and then kind of what she does now to promote the sport. I think is probably a pretty cool, I mean, heck, that's a pretty cool guest, I think.
I think so too. No, she's a great one, a PWBA and USBC Hall of Famer for good reason. Leanne, if you can hear me, I don't know if you're on headphones. If you can hear me, email me at bowlingwiththetheft@yahoo.com, and we will make that happen if you're up for it. Gary, I think I'm getting you out of here on time, but it has been a pleasure talking to you. Certainly under not the best of circumstances, but give our best to everybody at Storm and everybody who knew and loved Bill Chrisman and the Chrisman family.
Thank you. And in closing, I'd like to just thank you for having me on the show. And I hope that you get Leanne called out and on the show. And a reminder, on Monday, I believe it is, check out the website if you want to support the Paint the Lanes Pink initiative. And I'm telling you, and 100% every penny goes to help someone other than ourselves, and not even in the sport of bowling. So you feel good about your purchase of that fabulous, there's 300 of these bags made. So if you want to pick one up, every year when we do this, they sell out very quickly. I don't know. We've never done a bag before, so I don't really know. But know that every ounce of your money is going to help someone else. And that is because of Bill and Barbara Christmas.
Yeah. Awesome. An awesome initiative and an awesome way to honor Bill's legacy, which is vast. But we'll get you out of here on that. Thank you so much for coming on. Really
Thanks,
appreciate
guys.
it.
Appreciate it. Take care.
Great to see you. That is Gary Hulsenberg here on Bowling with the Fef. I do want to get through a couple of the comments before I go here. Vince says, the future of bowling looks great. So many great players. I enjoy watching the excellent play. Jeff says, thanks to me for doing the show with Gary and doing some work for him. He says he will be in touch. Jeff, the invoice is coming soon. So when you see the Altoona address, you'll know that's from me. Haha. Derek says Tony passed on 9/18/12. Yeah, he did put out a nice tribute to him on the Flush in the Pocket page on YouTube. Sam loves the Morning Bolt with Blair and Gary. It's great when Leanne joins them. I would have to agree. And Derek would love to get Leanne on his podcast as well. He has definitely had some of the biggest names in the sport on that program. We actually are not going live in the traditional form next week, but this coming week, I should say. We're on a weekend now. But be sure and join us Saturday, October 7th, really all day. It's an all-day adventure at Spare Time Entertainment Center in Owatonna, Minnesota. And that's where I'll be live streaming the Champions Open. It's on October 7th. We start out with 2 squads of 6-game qualifying, and then you get cut. 1 out of 4 goes to the advancers round for 4 more games, and then a step ladder for the top 5. It's a new tournament. It is part of a 4-tournament series called the 10K Larson Siding, Windows, and Roofing Quadruple Crown, which includes the Lacrosse Open, which many folks around the Midwest are familiar with, the Rochester Heating and Plumbing Holiday Match Games, which I'll also be live streaming coming up in December, and we finish out with the St. Cloud Palooza at Southway Bowl in St. Cloud. So lots of great bowling action, and it starts live on the Bowling with the Fef channel with the Champions Pro Shop Open at Spare Time Entertainment Center in Owatonna, Minnesota, coming up a week from today, Saturday, October 7th. That is going to do it for our show here today. I'm going to leave you with a few more excerpts from some of the Storm team folks who posted about the late Bill Chrisman on Facebook during the week. Until next week, be just and fear not, and we will see you live on Saturday the 7th.